All right. So Brad was just he was just about to get into a really good discussion here. So I thought that we should share it today live.
Well, where were we?
The Industrial Revolution.
The Industrial Revolution, right. So, the first Industrial Revolution, we could turn raw materials into textiles, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of the hand loom, we replaced it with mechanized looms that could produce mass quantities of materials. But you still bought those materials and sewed your own clothes and things like that. The second Industrial Revolution produced products out of textiles, right? So the factory production of stuff picks up. Third Industrial Revolution is computer technology. And every time there's been an Industrial Revolution, there's also revival that happens right at the same time. I mean, people's lives are just in flux. Culture is changing dramatically, and God shows up. So, before the first Industrial Revolution, 95% of the world's population were in agrarian professions. So they were farmers, right? There's subsistence farmers or, producing larger than that. You got to have that. And 5% of people are professionals or in the government or something like that. Today, we're just on the verge of this. And so, 95% before the Industrial Revolution were in agrarian positions. Now something like 5% of the world's population, or of the Western world's population, hey guys, stop it, okay? Leave her alone. Are now in agrarian professions, and so the world has just changed dramatically. And with each Industrial Revolution, there's been this tremendous revival. The first revolution produced the Methodist movement, right, which pretty much defines how we do church today. That town square style of church where we all get together in a building and then the format and stuff was produced by the Methodist movement. The second Industrial Revolution coincides with the launch of the Southern Baptist Convention, right, which is America's largest denomination today. And then in the 70s with the computer revolution, that's when the charismatic movement is born, with people like John Wimber and Francis McNutt and all these other people that are coming into their own in that time period. And I mean, so many other people. And right now, we are poised on the edge of the largest industrial revolution that will ever hit the earth, or that has hit the earth to date. Come here, Winnie. Come here. Come on. So, just 95% of the population moved out of agrarian positions in the middle of the 18th century, we're in this place now where almost all blue-collar workers are going to be replaced by artificial intelligence.
Right.
Within 10 years, you won't need any more garbage men. Within 20 years, you won't need any more truck drivers. Mm-hmm. We pretend like this isn't going to happen, but it absolutely will. And there goes my halo. And all these positions, all these things that, 20 years ago, you would have said, oh, it's impossible to replace your doctor with a robot. Mm-hmm. But we are seeing now that it absolutely is possible to do these things. And so almost every profession that you can think of can be replaced by artificial intelligence. Is this going the way that you hope?
It's totally great.
This is authentic.
This is what our days look like.
Of real life.
This is how we have all of our conversations about the school.
And so, this is just going to cause this massive change to society as we all restructure and figure out, what jobs do we do? How do we interact with society if our job isn't important? Our whole way of life right now, our whole idea about how governments should run and things like that is based on the idea that there's enough work to go around, right? That everybody needs to do their part to the work. But at some point, that's not true any longer, right? And so, however that shakes out, and obviously I'm not promoting any specific political solutions right now, but however that shakes out, it's going to be really different. Mm-hmm. We're going to see just massive upheaval and change in this, and that's when God moves. I mean, historically, that's what we've seen is this correlation between industrial revolution and revival, and and so we have the greatest industrial revolution ever, coming down the line right now, and so I mean that excites me because it doesn't mean, but it seems likely that there's also a revival that's going to happen.
Yeah,
and so. I think a big piece of what we're going to see is so many more people are going to move into content. And that's why I said that we should actually talk about AI, because AI is going to displace blue collar workers. More and more people are going to have the opportunity to move into creative content, because that is still going to be one of the most difficult things for computers to replace.
Yeah.
And a lot of like technical writing and stuff like that can all be replaced, but like creativity, I never say never, right? But at least for the time being, that we're still going to need humans to create art.
Yeah.
And so we'll have more and more people moving into that. And so, I think that's why the School of Kingdom Writers is so important, is because we're producing thought leaders for the future. Okay. We're ahead of time. Finally the church is ahead of the game, instead of like, oh, people are on Facebook, like 10 years after people are on Facebook, 20 years after people are on Facebook and trying to get there.
Right.
Like, this is an opportunity to be ahead of that, to be putting leaders into place, people who have more experience and have more knowledge, have better training than their secular counterparts, who are going to be playing catch up over the next decade.
So we're going to take over the world.
That's right. We're going to do the same thing we do every day, Maddie. Try to take over the world. And that's why we should talk about AI on our social media.
And that's what you missed on Glee.